If pricing your automation feels like guessing, you're not alone. Most people either underprice out of fear or overprice to justify complexity. But the real problem isn't your confidence, it's what you're pricing. In this series, you'll learn how to price automation logically without hourly rates, formulas, or explaining the tech. The last episode of Artificial Intelligence Explained, we talked about the one decision that makes or breaks your automation business. Once that decision is made, the next obstacle always appears: pricing. This is where doubt creeps in and momentum slows. Today, we're removing that friction by turning pricing from a guess into a clear, logical process. Pricing feels hard because most people start with themselves instead of the client. They think about effort, time, or tools used. That immediately creates doubt. The moment you price from your perspective, you feel insecure. Confident pricing only happens when the price is anchored in the client's pain, not your work. Most automation pricing decisions are emotional, not logical. People copy competitors, charge based on time spent, or ask themselves what feels reasonable. That fear-driven thinking creates doubt, long negotiations, and unstable income. When price comes from emotion, confidence disappears the moment you send the proposal. The biggest pricing mistake isn't charging too much or too little. It's pricing based on your effort instead of their pain. When you charge for hours, tools, or workflows, clients negotiate. When you price the problem being removed, clients compare outcomes. Pricing becomes easier the moment effort stops being the reference point. When clients buy automation, they're not buying efficiency, they're buying peace of mind. They want fewer mistakes, fewer fires, and fewer decisions. Automation becomes valuable when it removes mental load, not when it looks impressive. If your pricing doesn't reflect emotional relief and business stability, it will always feel hard to defend. This fear keeps you trapped in the middle. You're good enough to build powerful automations, but not confident enough to charge properly. So you hesitate, overthink, and delay sending prices. The longer you stay here, the more pricing feels risky. The goal of this episode is simple: remove fear by replacing guessing with logic. Here's where most people get stuck. SaaS pricing isn't about monthly payments, it's about ongoing value. If your automation continuously replaces a recurring task, SaaS makes sense. One-time pricing works when the system permanently removes a bottleneck. The mistake is choosing a model based on tools instead of business impact. SaaS pricing only makes sense when your automation delivers value continuously. If the system runs daily, replaces recurring tasks, or scales with usage, monthly pricing feels logical to clients. They're not paying for setup, they're paying for ongoing relief. If value stops, SaaS breaks. Recurring value must justify recurring price. This is where many people get confused. SaaS pricing makes sense when value is delivered continuously and the automation replaces a recurring task. One-time pricing works when the system permanently removes a bottleneck and the client wants ownership. Pricing models should follow business impact, not technology or personal preference. The strongest pricing anchor isn't what your automation does. It's what happens without it. Delays, mistakes, lost leads, burnout, and missed growth all have a cost. When clients clearly see that cost, your price feels smaller by comparison. You're no longer selling software, you're selling prevention. Clients don't care about the tools or workflows you built. What they do care about is the pain it solves: time saved, errors eliminated, predictability created, and stress removed. That's what they pay for. Automation isn't just a system, it's relief. Price it based on the outcome, not the hours you spent building it. Before you mention any numbers, anchor the value. Ask yourself, what breaks if this automation disappears? How often does the problem occur? Who feels the pain the most, the founder, the team, or the customer? Answering these questions lets you price the cost of inaction, not the effort, making your pricing logical and confident. When choosing a pricing model, don't base it on technology, base it on business impact. SaaS pricing works for ongoing value and recurring tasks. One-time pricing works when a bottleneck is permanently removed and the client wants ownership. The key is matching the model to the outcome, not to the tools or workflow complexity. If pricing still feels hard, it's usually not about numbers, it's about positioning. When you position yourself as a problem solver rather than a tool builder, clients focus on outcomes instead of negotiating costs. Proper positioning transforms pricing from a guessing game into a clear reflection of the value and relief your automation provides. Positioning affects how clients perceive value. A tool builder is compared on features. A problem solver is compared on results. When you clearly show the impact of your automation, time saved, errors prevented, stress removed, clients understand the worth and are willing to pay appropriately. Pricing follows positioning, not effort or complexity. Engage your audience by asking a simple question. If an automation saves a company 10 hours per week, how would you price it? And why? Encouraging viewers to comment not only boosts engagement, but also helps them start thinking in terms of outcomes and value rather than hours or complexity, reinforcing the core lesson of this episode. Pricing automation isn't about guessing or copying competitors. It's about understanding pain, relief, and business impact. Once you anchor your price to the outcomes your automation delivers, confidence replaces doubt. Clients stop negotiating over hours and start seeing the true value. This mindset shift is what separates successful automation businesses from those that constantly undercharge.